All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Let us continue. So we are finishing off Meretz Hashem today. Os Nun Aleph in Tzidkas Hatzaddik. So if you remember again, the Rebbe, really picking up from the Gemara Maseches Sanhedrin, where the Gemara darshan the pasuk Sheker Achein v'Hevel Yofi Isha Iras Hashem Hitis Halo, and the Gemara explained that Sheker Achein is Yosef, and Hevel HaYofi is Boaz, which we'll pick up today. And the Rebbe was developing the theme that in the battle against the Yetzer Hara, there are two ways that a person could approach it. A person could go ahead and try to go at it themselves, and a person could be successful. A person could summon up the personal strength. A person could summon up the courage to be able to go ahead and combat and vanquish the Yetzer Hara. But at the end of the day, because the person is going at it themselves, and because they are not enlisting the help of the Ribono Shel Olam, their efforts will not be fully successful. Or a person could go ahead and understand that I cannot be successful in anything in life without the assistance of the Ribono Shel Olam. Without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is no success. Without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or I should say, without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is no enduring success. And therefore, before I tackle any challenge, specifically one which requires me to go to battle against my Yetzer Hara, I must absolutely enlist the help of the Ribono Shel Olam. So Rabbi Tzaddik was giving examples of this. So last week we spoke about Yosef. Today we're going to pick up with Boaz. So if you take a look, this is on page Kuf Chaf Beis, same PDF that I sent out last week. In the Be'orei HaChasidus, in the right-hand column, about halfway down. Umizeh shakasav v'hevel hayofi. So remember again, Rabbi Tzaddik, quoting the Gemara explained that Sheker Achein was a reference to Yosef. Hevel hayofi. So beauty is fleeting, or beauty is vain. Mashakasav sham v'hevel hayofi zemerames al mitzchono ha'amiti shal Boaz neged tokef hiskabros hatayva v'hasasas hayetzer hara. So Hevel hayofi refers to Boaz's battle against the Yetzer Hara. Now, where do we see, or where do we learn that Boaz had a battle against the Yetzer Hara? So remember again, this is in the story of Rus. So in the Megillas Rus, where again, remember Naomi contrives this entire plan for Rus to go to Boaz, to lay down by his feet, and ultimately to be merames that Boaz is supposed to marry Rus. So remember again, that night, Boaz and Rus are alone in the greenery. And as Rabbi Tzaddik is going to say, he says as follows. He says, Boaz could have easily sinned with Rus that night, and no one would have ever known. Sham gam kin sheniskasha as ivaro bal karchol nasoso. When that night, when Rus was there with Boaz in the greenery, Boaz was tempted to sin. Boaz was understandably so. Boaz was tempted. There was a beautiful woman who was laying down by his feet, and ultimately, again, pretty much gave herself over to him. He was tempted to sin with her. V'hayalo b'shazu tokef atay v'yitzara v'shtokik lachto v'lasos es osamaisa. And he had a desire. He had a desire to sin with her. Rak his ametz negdo b'tokef hayira b'koach atzmo. But he resisted the temptation. So Boaz resisted the temptation to sin with Rus, and he resisted this temptation by summoning up within himself this inner courage. V'achin yatzanaki lagamrei v'lo chata b'poal. And therefore Boaz was able to emerge victorious. Umishum shahaya mikoach atzmo, nitzchon mikoach atzmo, lekach haya nisyono rak sha'achas bilvod. Me'achar she'ino muftach l'tamid. So this is very interesting. So we'll say, so once again, the reason why this piece by Rabbi Tzaddik is so profoundly astounding and surprising is because what Rabbi Tzaddik is describing as a less than perfect victory against the Yetzer Hara, I think for many of us, before we saw this piece, Rabbi Tzaddik would assume that it is the perfect victory against the Yetzer Hara. That at the end of the day, Boaz was able to overcome this taiva himself, just like Yosef was able to overcome the taiva himself. Yet Rabbi Tzaddik says here, such a victory is imperfect, because any victory where a person relies solely on himself, is not a victory which can be relied upon long term. That's why he explains over here that the nisayon of Boaz only lasted for a couple of hours, just that night. It was not an ongoing nisayon. The nisayon of Yosef only lasted for a particular duration, because at the end of the day, when you are going at it yourself and not relying on the assistance of the Ribbono Shel Olam, your staying power to resist sin is limited. Now the Rebbe contrasts this, the last piece of this Gemara is Isha Yir'as Hashem Hitis Halal. A woman who, it's interesting, by the way, that beauty and women, the Gemara understands over here, is a reference to men. It's very interesting, right? Sheker Achin is Yosef, Hevel Ayofi is Boaz, Isha Yir'as Hashem Hitis Halal. Who is the woman ultimately, again, who fears HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That is, this refers in Rabbi Tzaddik's model, Hainu anitzachon shenechshav be'eni HaKadosh Baruch Hu kinitzachon amiti umuchlat al hayitzahara. So this is the victory, which is considered to be a complete victory against the Yitzhara. Who does this refer to? Amazing. Palti ben Laish. So who's Palti ben Laish? Shelo naga b'michal bashol. So a little bit of background. So remember again, David HaMelech is married to Michal, the daughter of Shaul. That shidduch came about after David HaMelech rose in prominence, after he killed Goliath, after he killed Goliath. So he became a general in David HaMelech's army. The king then invites him ultimately to become his son-in-law. David HaMelech marries Michal. Now remember again, as David HaMelech's fame rises, so Shaul becomes more and more jealous, to the point where Shaul is ready to kill David. Michal is the one who tells her husband, David, my father's coming to kill you tomorrow morning. So this is the famous story where they, David HaMelech essentially stuffed pillows under his cover to make it look like he was sleeping in bed. She lowered him down through the window, and David HaMelech escaped. The next morning, Shaul's soldiers burst into David HaMelech's home. And again, but by that time, David HaMelech already had a number of hours start on Shaul. Right? This is the beginning of the entire story. Then David goes to Nov, Ir Kohanim, tells them that he's on a secret mission. They give him food and weapons. This is where Doeg sees them aid him. Doeg tells Shaul, you see that they're going back in there, they're aiding and abetting. Okay, oh my son. To make matters worse, Shaul, as an ultimate affront to David HaMelech, goes ahead and gives away David's wife Michal to another man, a man by the name of Palti ben Laish, who was an incredibly pious individual. Now, the issue over here is that Palti ben Laish didn't exactly have that much of a say in this, because the king ordered him. But I will say a remarkable miracle occurred. Palti ben Laish was, quote unquote, married to Michal for 20 years, over 20 years, and in that time, never laid a hand on her. I will say an absolute remarkable display of personal strength. Of personal strength. Literally, he's living with this woman. The king has given to her. Michal was a very beautiful woman. The king had given her to him as his wife. But Palti ben Laish recognized all too well she was married to someone else. So because she was married to someone else, he did not lay a hand on her. Shelo naga b'Michal bashol kol osim eshim shana mishenasa ad shechzir David HaMelech. He did not lay a hand on her for 20 years, from the time that he married her until he returned her to her husband, to David. Berak nitzachon kazeh mochiach al yiras Hashem hamechsheves gam be'enei HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'amitis umuchletes legamre. So Rabbi Tzaddik says this Palti ben Laish is called, in the eyes of Chazal, Isha Yir'as Hashem Hitis Halal. This is a woman who's Yareh Hashem. It's interesting also, you'll say to yourself, why does the Gemara, why was the Shlomo HaMelech, why does Shlomo HaMelech refer to righteous men, or why does the Gemara refer to righteous men as women? So it's interesting because in the eyes of Chazal, a woman is like the paragon of piety. See, even when you want to describe righteous men, they're often described in the feminine, which is really quite fascinating. So Palti ben Laish, Rabbi Tzaddik explains, is going to be the fundamental distinction to a Boaz and a Yosef. All three are righteous, and all three overcame their Yetzer Hara. The difference is that a Yosef and a Boaz went at it on their own. And because they went at it on their own, they were successful, but their success was of limited duration, which is why their nisayon was only able to last a short amount of time. Because when you go at things on your own, your staying power is limited. Palti ben Laish, on the other hand, enlisted the help of the Ribono Shel Olam in his war. It's a war against the Yetzer Hara. And because he had enlisted God as a partner, he was able to successfully combat the Yetzer Hara for over 2 decades. So we'll have to stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Meretz Hashem with this last piece about Palti ben Laish in Meretz Hashem tomorrow. But I both say the lesson of Rabbi Tzaddik is screaming out loud and clear, which is the ability to engage in long-term success against the Yetzer Hara is fundamentally predicated on one's willingness to enlist the Ribono Shel Olam as a partner in this effort. If Hashem is not a partner, you could be successful on a short-term level, but you can't be successful in an ongoing effort. All right, well, so stop here. We'll spend one more day, Meretz Hashem on Osnan Aleph. Shkoyach.